afternoon on the East Coast here in Charlotte, North Carolina anyway. So not sure what the time is where you may be tuning in from, but it's a great day here. Hopefully you're getting some good weather like we are. It's good to get a little relief from the heat. Thanks for showing up to this webcast. I know, boy, these days lives are busier than ever, even in the midst of a pandemic, right? So it's just really glad to see a lot of folks turn out for this webcast. I think you're going to be rewarded for it. And thanks for being here, guys. So let's get to it. We're going to talk about how to thrive in a trader's market, and a special shout out to the YouTubers tuning in today as well. Nice to see you guys here as well. All right, so how to thrive in a trader's market. First things first, I am going to give out a special document at the very end of the webcast today. I really feel like this is one of the better freebies that we do pass out. It is going to detail for you some of the best performing searches to find the stocks to thrive with in the current market. Okay, and so you'll get to see a process in which we come up with this list in this webcast and then have the end result, which is super cool. Okay, so we get busy. Occasionally I do forget, so do throw me out a reminder at the end of the webcast. If I forget to put it up into the handout section, I will do that at the end. Okay, do have some folks with sound issues, but it looks like I'm coming through loud and clear for most of you. So I'm going to proceed ahead with that thought. All right, so with all the different webcast offerings these days, it's always a good thing to just kind of get some stuff out there in terms of, is this where you want to spend the next hour of your time? You know, maybe 45 minutes to an hour, something like that. Thanks, guys, for letting me know that sound is good. So you guys are all in the right place if you currently dedicate or want to dedicate a portion of your portfolio to short-term trading to grow your portfolio faster. Now, I do want to elaborate quickly on short-term. This is not an intraday day trading technique. This is days to weeks. Days to weeks in terms of holding periods on the stocks that we do trade. So there are, on occasion, we may get in and out of a position in a single day if things go really well or really bad, but that's rare occasion. You know, it's typically going to be days to weeks. All right. Also, you're in the right place if you'd like to have winners outpace losers so that you can get reliable portfolio growth. The kind of reliable portfolio growth that we shoot for is to grow the portfolio month over month. That is one of the overarching goals that we have in the system that I'm going to show today. And vast majority of the year, that's exactly what we do. Right now, we're averaging about 9 months a year, moving the portfolio value higher each and every one of those 9 months, and getting really substantial year-on-year returns to the tune of about 60% a year on a current basis. So that's the kind of situation we're talking about when we talk about reliable growth. We're talking about substantial growth on the year, but one of our milestones is to try to the best of our ability to grow the portfolio each and every single month of the year. And I've got some graphics and some things that it will show in that regard. Okay, you're also in the right place if you feel confident in your decision that you bought the right stock at the right time. If you want to feel more confident, that is. So, you know, we're very much going to be keying in on the hottest stocks and going with them as our trading candidates. We do have a dynamic way to come up with that list of stocks. It is different than potentially anything you've ever seen before, particularly if you're not even familiar with VectorVest as a company yet. But I'll be easy on you, and you'll get a good feel for how we do things before we leave this webcast. But that's really the integral part of this webcast, is in order to thrive, in order to try to be able to grow accounts that consistently and by that much, you do need to kind of move from one stock selection criteria to a different one under different circumstances. And so it's a dynamic system that we have, and it does change in terms of the kinds of stocks that we trade. And a lot of times even the price levels, you know, and things like that. So more on that in a bit. But here's my promise. If you stick with me to the end today, I will show you that you can, in fact, adapt and thrive no matter what the market throws at you, even in the midst of a pandemic. This has been just an ordinary year for us, honestly. Right now, we're sitting up about 50% on the year so far, okay? And so no matter what the market throws at us, we're going to be just fine if we stick to the system that I'm going to lay out there. And not only will you survive, you're going to thrive. So it's not about survival, it's about thriving, which is even better. So let's get to it. In order to get this done, we are going to need to use the right tools. I learned this over and over in the course of my life, right? I mean, I own 7 acres of property now, so I see value in the chainsaw. Just last year, I have this pretty large deck, that kind of overlooks my pool area at home. And I went about going to sand it and then restain it. And so I got the old belt sand. Anybody ever used a belt sander? Oh my goodness. I remembered that from back when I was in high school, doing some odd end jobs and helping some people out that were a little older than me, who had brothers and things. And my goodness, all those nightmares came back very quickly when I started out with that belt sander. I mean, I figured it was going to take me like 3 or 4 days, to get this rather good-sized deck done. And so what I did was I got in my car and went to the store and got the right tool. I went and got one of those drum sanders. I was done in 35 minutes, So it's 35 minutes or 3 days, the choice is yours. It can get done either way, but my goodness, if you have the right tools, it makes things a lot easier. And so that's what this webcast is really all about, is we can actually get all of this done. We can actually grow the portfolio month over month. We can actually get these kind of returns, and at the same time, it can be relatively easy. And I think that's what is so appealing to folks and why we're growing like wildfire with this technique right now. Okay, so here's a little snapshot of the most recent couple of quarters of trading. This goes from October out to really just through middle of June this year. You can see it's up 47.81%. We did hit about 55. Right now we stand at 49.8. 49.8% right now as we speak. So we have slowed down here a little bit. Things do come in spurts. A couple of things I do want to point out. Higher this month, higher that month, lower that 1 month there to end out last year, to round out last year. So you can see in the last quarter of trading for 2019, 2 good months and 1 month where we didn't achieve the growth. When we look at this year, 1 month up, 2 months up, pulled back about 7% in the midst of the pandemic. Nothing too tragic there, but that was a down one. So 2 out of 3 so far, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, and we're 5 out of 7 so far for this year. Okay, 5 out of 7 so far for this year, and we missed it by 0.31%. On that additional month. So, really tremendous technique here. One of the other things that you might be noticing, I think I see some comments, there's flat spots on those curves. We do go to cash position. We do go to an entire cash position when we need to in this portfolio. And you can see that's what staved off most of the collapse in the pandemic was the ability to go to cash. We got out actually pretty near the top and stayed in a cash position all the way till towards the bottom. And, didn't get off that bottom as well as I might have anticipated, but eventually the big numbers did start to roll in. You can see the massive jumps as the stock market got rolling there, okay? All right, so we're gonna talk about how we did that and really lay it out there. We really are. In the end, you're gonna find that you need the tools, but I am gonna tell you everything you need to know to be able to do. And I've got all the documentation to allow for yourself to be able to do it for yourself, even after you learn about it. So it's literally click by click, step by step, very well laid out for you. Okay. First, a little bit about me. That's me in the middle there. The ugly one on the left, that's my beautiful wife Heidi to my right. Just a little bit about us. We like to rescue Great Danes. Fell in love with the breed after I owned my first one. I've got 3 Great Danes at the house right now, running around my 7 acres of property, I suppose. If it's a typical day, it looks like it's sunny, so I imagine that's what they're doing. That's my gal right there, Stella. She's been rescued 3 times, and so I never let her back out. She stayed with us. She's 11 now. Isn't that something? Great Dane, 11 years old and strong as an ox. Perfect checkup. So we're hoping we got many more years with her to go. We love to travel. That's a picture of Italy on bottom left corner. Not Trevi Fountain, but one of the more beautiful fountains there in Rome. We just kind of loved our trip to Italy. It was great. Best trip I've made a lot of trips, guys, Italy was way up the list. Hard to say at any time what's best, right? But it was way, way up the list. And that's me playing Princeville for my parents had a 50th anniversary wedding cruise not long ago. And that's me playing Princeville there. Awful day. Played with a sheriff from Texas. Just had a ball. But it was not good conditions. But we got through it, and it was still fun. A lot of fun. All right, guys, so that's a little bit about me. Kind of lets you know my personality and everything. Let's get to brass tacks. So we're going to make a hard transition back right onto to track here. So this is what we're going to learn about for the remainder of this session. We're going to learn how to stay on the right side of the market and keep the wind at our back most of the time. Not some of the time or a good portion of the time, but rather most of the time. We should never be on the wrong side of the market for more than a few days if we follow this system to the T. The other thing that we'll learn about is how to select stocks the market is favoring right now. And finally, the best way to manage those stocks to help lock profits in the future. And there is kind of a buzzword there. Some of you might have already guessed. We are going to be using our proprietary stop loss called Profit Locker. So if you've never been introduced to that, you'll learn a little bit about that in this course as well. Okay, so let's get to it. How to stay on the right side of the market. Well, traveled the world, anywhere from India to Australia to Hong Kong, Canada. I reckon about the only place I haven't talked to people about VectorVest is South America or Mexico or anywhere in that part of the world yet, But inevitably, I've run across a lot of folks who have been extremely successful in the stock market, and they come to the event just looking for help because it feels like they could just kind of hit a wall, and the things that they have been doing forever to be so successful just aren't working anymore. And so that really plays well into this presentation, because if you try to do the same thing all the time, not necessarily is it going to work well all the time, right? And that's one of the key things that you're going to learn about here, okay? So I figure what's holding them back is something is missing in their plan, and that something that's missing is the dynamic part. Being flexible on stock selection, for example, is a huge part of what makes this system so successful all the time. Okay, so I figure you need to follow a system that will adapt and therefore thrive in any market conditions. So we need an adaptable plan, but we need one that's easy to do. Sometimes when you try to make things adaptive, things get complicated, right? And so this is very much a situation where that should not be the case for you, and you'll see why. Okay, so let's build the system out. We're going to need 3 cornerstones. Just envision kind of a triangle in your head. Now you can see a picture of one. So every triangle has 3 cornerstones, right? And we're going to build it out with like a 3-legged stool. Anybody ever read Dr. Alexander Elder? This is where we very much agree. You need 3 main ingredients in order to have a very good system in trading, okay? 1, you need to account for market direction. 2, you need a consistent trade selection process, one that consistently finds winners all the time. And that's where we're going to be dynamic, okay? And 3, we need risk management. Risk management is, at the end of the day, what allows for profitability on a good system. So those 3 components will be addressed. What we're going to try to do with market direction, if we're going to try to get 60% a year-on-year returns, we're going to want to keep the wind at our back almost all the time. So this is trading. This is days to weeks. This is not months to years. This is not ultimate retirement solution or retirement services. In fact, what this is people who are interested in trying to grow capital a lot more quickly than that. That could be a portion of your retirement account, or for some people, particularly the young folks out there, or people in certain situations, this can grow things a lot more quickly and effectively. So it can be part of what you do, or it can be all of what you do, right? We are going to be dynamic with our trade selection. We are going to have a risk management system that cuts our losers fairly quickly, and but allows our winners to run. Okay, so yeah, let's go on from there. Where have you guys found it the hardest to adapt in your own trading? Where have you found it the hardest to adapt in your own trading? I'll just kind of use this question to cut the ice a little bit. Sometimes this will allow me to try to cater the presentation a little bit to you guys as a particular room full of people. Sometimes it gives me that flexibility, but I do see a lot of the same answers here sometimes. We'll see what we get. Let's see. Thank you for giving Dr. Elder credit. I've been a follower for many years. Oh, of Elder? Yeah, he's great. He's one of the, when I've been to a lot of money shows and traders expos and things, and he's one of the few people that I always kind of seek out and watch myself. He's really, really good. He really is. All right, let's see. How many trades this year? We do about 200, 250 trades a year, okay, in that neighborhood. Let's see, find the right stocks. Finding the right stocks is a challenge. It looks when to sell. There's 3 in a row, when to sell. Literally stacked right on top of one another. Yeah, when to sell is always tricky, right? It's always tricky. Particularly, I'll tell you what, I've always had, believe it or not, more trouble selling the winners than the losers. Anybody else have that problem? Selling the winners? Yeah, it's Elder approaches that, in that book that I mentioned, or if I didn't, one of his best books is Trading for a Living, okay? And he addresses that. It's often overlooked, but what you're going to find interesting in this course is we have a target in mind. We do allow it to continue to run if it keeps going. There's a mechanism for that, but we do have a target in mind on every single trade. Yeah, so we have a stop loss. We also have a target, and then we have kind of a floating stop that tries to capture profit along the way, or if it keeps running, it keeps running. All right, so let's talk more about it, guys. Hopefully that at least piques your interest. So here we go. Market direction. This is the single most important factor that's going to ultimately determine your success, whether you've realized that at this point or not. It's one of the kind of the cornerstones of VectorVest as a software company, right? As an investment portfolio management service, is market direction. Because if markets are rolling higher, if you're picking the right stocks, they ought to be rolling higher with the market. If the market's falling down, even the best stocks fall. Just look at graphs of Apple, Microsoft, Google. The list goes on and on. So it's hard to fight market direction, and so we don't want to. We want to use that as kind of wind at our back, if you will, helping to push our trades profitable. I'll tell you, there's nothing that'll blow up a perfect looking trade than entering that trade in a down market. Almost inevitably, it'll turn even the best trading opportunities into losers, just because you're trying to fight market trend. So market direction's huge. I mean, absolutely huge. What we're going to do is show you a system that we call the primary wave. By the way, guys, VectorVest has been around since floppy disk. Okay, for those of you that are just tuning in to VectorVest for the first time today, that's how long we've been in the industry. We were one of the very first actually to cater to private investors in the entire field. And we're still here today. And we're here today because of, really, this is one of the reasons, our ability to navigate market direction. There's other reasons. We can also put you towards the best stocks and show you how to manage them, right? But market direction's huge, and it's the one thing that most people often overlook, unfortunately, yet it's the thing that has the single biggest impact on your outcomes, okay? So what we do for this, if we're going to try to grow the portfolio quickly, we're going to want to be pretty nimble with market direction. You have to be. If you're not, sometimes you might have a 60% year just being long the whole year. I can think of years like that, like 2013. I'm thinking 2003 to 2004. 2017 was pretty well that way, But those years are rare, man, and a lot of years that's going to get you in a lot of hot water, like 2008 or, early portions of this year could have set you way back. Could still be trying to climb out of the hole, or maybe you're pretty level, but you're probably not up 50%, So it's critical. And so what we do, you can see the candlestick structure on the chart here, the green and red bars. So they're very informative, and the thing that I want to point out first and foremost, though, is not so much that, it's the triangles. So you have this green triangle and you have a red triangle, right? Green, red, green, red, green, red. What we do in this system is we buy on the greens. So we buy near market lows and we sell on the reds, near market highs. And we repeat that process. Every once in a while, we'll go back and forth a little bit because the market is still kind of searching for direction. But anytime there's a major run in the market, we're going to get in fairly early. Anytime there's a major fall, we're going to be out real early. And that's what helps us keep pushing that needle strongly in our direction month after month after month after month. Yeah, from time to time, it's going to drive us a little nutty, as we kind of flip back and forth, trying to ascertain which direction the market is actually getting ready to jump in. But the cool thing about it is it will get you on the right side of it as that jump is made. See what I mean? So as the real jump was made down here, weren't we out of the market the whole time? You bet. As this jump was made, we were in low. As this jump was made, we were in low. As this jump was made, we were in low. If you're going to be that fast, kind of the rub on that is when the market's sideways, you can kind of bounce back and forth. So we do have a layer of coaching on top of the signal where we look for a little bit stronger evidence than just what I've told you so far. But I gave you 80% of the equation. There's more to learn. We'll get to that later. But that's 80% of how we do it, okay? Is just follow the bloody triangles. That's all you got to do. And if that's all you do, you'll be in good shape. But we do put some coaching on top of that, just things that we've learned over the years to make sure that the market is actually, moving again, okay? All right, so number 2, trade selection. This is where we're going to spend most of our time, is on this part. So we're going to be looking at evolving with changing market conditions in order to find the actual best candidates. So the methodology is the same all the time that we use to find the best candidates, but it's dynamic in the kinds of candidates that we do find. That might seem like a little bit of a brain burger. It's going to become more clear here in a second. Okay, but what search do I use, right? This is my favorite character in all the webcasts that I do. Why? Because he reminds me of George Carlin. Does anybody remember George Carlin? Man, he was awesome. I loved that guy. He got really better and better as his career went, But anyway, I think Mr. Carlin would have had a few words to say about how to figure out what strategy to pick when there's over 300 choices. So I just kind of think of, what would George say? He'd have a few lines to say about that, I think. Yeah. So, we get it. There's a lot of choices. There's MACD scans. Hey, do I want the hottest growth stocks? Do I want value? Do I want Russell stocks? Do I want S&P 500 stocks? What do I want, right? I mean, that's why there are so many searches to find stocks, because you need to use them. You need to be dynamic. There's a time and a place for all of them, or else we wouldn't have them to begin with. You see what I mean? So there's a time where any of those searches I just mentioned will outperform the other. And what we reckon is we've stumbled across the way to try to address that problem, okay? I'm going to skip that question because I think I've already laid it out there. We're going to go right to the meat here. And that is, we have a tool at VectorVest called the Derby, okay? The Derby. So the Derby is ultimately going to be the dynamic tool that points us in the right direction on strategy choices. Which strategy, thereby what stocks am I going to actually trade? So this is a quick view of the Derby. I'm going to use this to educate you on just what the Derby is. It seems like some funny terminology. Well, if you've been around VectorVest at any length of time, we do have our share of funny terminology. Some of that is to help you remember what they're called, believe it or not. But Derby actually is the right name for the tool, because let me just lay it out this way. I've taught literally thousands of events now, both live and online. I dare to say I'm probably starting to get to even bigger numbers than that here pretty quick. But the single most commonly asked question from any event I've ever taught is, what's the Holy Grail? What is the strategy? What is the best strategy? Steve, come over here to the corner. You don't have to tell everybody else I know there's thousands of people in this room, but I want you to tell me, you've been using this thing for 19 years, what's the best one? And while I could very quickly say that there are about a baker's dozen strategies that do tend to be the best overall all the time, it's not to say that on the next market call, that's the one that you should be using to get the best result. See what I mean? So while there might be some strategies that do tend to outshine the others more often than not, it's not always going to be the case. And so it's kind of a loaded question. And what we did, Dr. DeLito, most importantly, the founder of our company, VectorVest, we sat down and we designed this tool, okay? And it's built to address that question. And so we call it the Derby because it's built in the spirit of a horse race, okay? Anybody ever heard the term railbird? Imagine you're a railbird at a horse race right now. Wouldn't it be nice if you're going to bet on the Preakness, right, to see the horses come out of the gate before you even place your bet? See what I mean? Otherwise, you're just kind of making observations visually, or you're looking at odds and you're just, those kinds of things, being a railbird, right? But wouldn't it also be cool if we could actually bet after the race began? And so that was the spirit of what we did here. Now, that has a lot of value even on a daily basis, where you can see what kinds of stocks are making the push. Are they small caps? Are they large caps? Are they bottom fishers? Are they high growth searches? So there's and inside each one of these green bars, those are strategies to find stocks. Inside the green bar, you'll see a list of 10 stocks. I'm going to show you that here in a second, okay? So there's 10 stocks pushing those performance numbers. And so a lot of times that'll lead you to some good cherry picking candidates. Like there might only be 2 stocks going up, but 2 of them are going crazy, and you look at the charts and you look at the numbers in VectorVest and everything looks good, and you just jump on a couple of good stocks that way. But we're going to do things differently. What we're going to do, it was about 3 years ago now, Dr. DeLito came and said, Steve, we got this tool, the Derby, that we built, to help all these folks, and we never really put a trading system together. So he says, do it, I got the command from God in that case, telling me I needed to create a system. That's my responsibility is designing trading systems. So that's what I did. And what I did was I got us away from just looking. I think there's a tremendous amount of value in this daily perspective, okay, for some of the reasons I just mentioned. But one of the things that struck me was we have about 90 days of this daily activity that we archive, okay? And so what I set about to do was use all of that data to our advantage. Instead of just the daily view, look at how consistently searches showed up on this list day after day after day, and another way that I'm going to describe here in a second. So let's get over and look at it. So we're going to look at it live. Let's see here. First things first. This is the swing trading system right now. So we've pulled back a little bit further today. We're at 48% right now. Okay, 48% right now. This is live. This is hooked up through Ally Invest. It trades live. We'll come back to this in a second. But just wanted to give you kind of a snapshot there. Looks like we've had a few trades today. Lazy Days was a good one. All right, so let me go to Derby. So here's the Derby. This is going to be that single day Derby view. And what we have here at the top, we see a lot of small cap type searches at the very top, and then we start running into bearish strategies pretty quickly. So there's probably a little micro cap stock. Yep, Eastman Kodak again. What? Those Robin Hooders. So there's one little stock in here going bananas. And for a trader, that's a good stock to get on your intraday charts and have some fun with, right? That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're trying to accomplish with this methodology of days to weeks. So what I did was get away from this a little bit. And what we do is we go to a couple of different modes of analysis. We're going to go to one that's called vary the start date. So instead of just looking at one data sample and finding a good day trading stock for today, what we're looking at now instead is what strategy has been the most consistent from any day in the past if you held those 10 stocks all the way to today. Okay, so in other words, there's going to be 65 tests. I think 66 because the last one is the open this morning to the current time. Okay, but you have 518 to 818, 519 to 818, 520. So we're just stepping that purchase date forward one day at a time all the way up to today. Then how many stocks did we find? What was the percentage of winners? What's your overall gain loss on the basket? You can see pretty big numbers in here, right? That's how it got to the top, okay? And then you can scroll all the way down to the most current time. It's still making money right now. Even from 811 to 818, it's up 4%. From 812 to 818, it's up 3. From 813 to 818, it's up 3. From 814, it's up 8 actually. Looks like it got a flyer that day. Just one day it was up 5. You know, just yesterday it was up 5 with 10 stocks. Okay, and today it was up 1% earlier. It's up 0.65 right now from the open. So not only has it been the most consistent search over the last 65 days, it's also making money today. And last time I checked, the market was down. That should raise some eyebrows, right? Okay, so hottest growth stocks looks interesting, but what I said was, you know, here I am just leveraging one data set again. So my inclination was to use all the different modes we have, but that was again going to be a little bit too complex. Anybody ever heard of Pareto's Law? At least this is how it was explained to me by Dr. DeLito about 19 years ago is the first time I heard it, and I reckon I heard it about 3 times a year for each of the last 19 years. That is, you ought to go about trying to get 80% of the result with 20% of the effort. Okay? And so I don't want to use all 5 methods of analysis, although I can probably design something even better because we can get 80% of that result without having to do all those extra things that just slow us down and make things undesirable and to the point where some of you wouldn't even do it. Okay? So what I did though is I said, well, we better have at least 2. We better have a confirming. Any good timing model, any good stock entry, technical situation typically has at least 2 indicators, right? So that they can confirm one another. So what we're going to do is we're going to use what's called sliding window, and I use a 5-day slide. Okay, so imagine a scientific experiment. Anytime you want to vary something, you vary one thing, right? So on the vary the start date, we varied the start date. Self-explanatory. But we were only varying one thing. The search was the same. The holding period to today's date was the same. See what I mean? So with sliding window, what we do is we select a period of time and we slide it through the data. So we have a 1-week slide. So the first result will be for just the first week. The second result will be for the next week starting the next day. And so you're just doing a 5-day test and sliding it all the way down through the data. And what I said was, let's find one like hottest growth stocks that is high on both lists. So that I know not only do I get a great strategy that's been doing well for the last 3 months, but it also traditionally does very well in just the first week, which actually I think is a more important test, okay? But both should agree. We also use some reason when looking at the data, like these bottom fishing strategies are best to use at market bottoms. So we will never do a bottom fishing strategy, even if it's the top on both lists, if we're at an MTI level well above 1 like we are now. Because being VectorVest subscribers, we all understand they're probably finding that Eastman Kodak or, they're finding these crazy stocks, and the other 8 or 9 aren't doing anything good for you, you know. And what happens is those are good if traded individually, but if you start trading all 10 positions all the time, the odds of you know, the odds catch up with you real quick. Okay, so we do use some coach. There has to be some coaching at some level, but I already showed it to you. I mean, right now, if I was going to pick the strategy, it is clearly hottest growth stocks, and it's making money today, which is not even a great day, you know. So that's pretty cool. The system, you know, got us all the way to the answer, and if I wasn't sitting here explaining it all, I could have determined that in like less than a minute. You know, sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes it's hottest growth stocks at the top, hottest growth stocks at the top. You know, sometimes it's top on both lists. It makes sense of the, you know, it's, you know, so hopefully you get the picture there. But it's definitely hottest growth stocks. Okay. Now we like to use 10 and 500,000 in most cases now too, just to give us plenty of liquidity. Okay. So that's a story for another day. We're not going to go that deep in this one. There's no need to. Hottest growth stocks is still a great choice. It's third on this list, right? And sliding window. It's even higher on this list. Okay. All right, cool. So now we know we've got the liquidity. With hottest growth stocks, it really didn't change that search. It changed some of the searches around it. Okay. It changed some of the searches around it. All right, so that's how this tool works. And if used properly, like we just did, and with a little bit of coaching, like you just got, and you get that on a daily basis, we'll talk about that in a minute. You know, you can really start to make sense of this wacky thing called the Derby. Okay. All right, so just real quick, let me go back over to Derby View. In Derby View, we can also do things like spreadsheet view. I can alphabetize the list and scroll down and find hottest growth stocks, and I'll show you what's in there right now. All right, so you got, let's go all in all and do that. Hottest growth stocks. All right, cool. So you got digital. Boy, this Digital Turbine had blowout earnings about a week ago. BRP Doyu, which I happen to own. You got iClick, which is on a pretty good roll. Zoom Video and Zscaler. So, you know, Enphase, I don't know if everybody's ever heard of that. I started buying that sucker a couple years ago when it was less than $10. Why? Because, you know, it shows up in this methodology. It shows up in the way that we're doing things here. All right, cool. So let me go back to. Hopefully, I raised a few eyebrows there in terms of, wow, this is pretty neat. You know what they're doing here, and it seems to make a little bit of sense. Hopefully, this last part will just kind of tie the bow on it, because now it's just a question of, we always know that we're going to be on hot stocks. I mean, we have to be by definition. They have to be good for the last 3 months, and they have to be good for the last week. So if they're, you know, at least on average, you know, so if they're good for a week, or they're good for 3 months, or any day in the last 3 months, you know, we're on the right kinds of stocks. It's just a matter of managing them. And this, you know, I'm not sure you ever have the absolute best. You start, particularly me, like I design trading systems, right? So things that go through my head is, well, you know, you could probably have situations where weird stuff works better sometimes, you know, but it ought to make sense, and you ought to have some kind of a plan, and one that works, and one that you've seen work. And so this plan and the way that we do it has worked for the last 3 years since we turned it loose, and we've never even hardly changed it. You know, we added that little bit about price greater than 10 and average volume greater than 500,000, but that's it, really. With Profit Locker, what we're going to do is, this is a patent pending product at VectorVest, okay? Nobody else has it. Nobody else ever will, you know, and it's part of the subscription. Now, we do have something called Profit Locker Pro where you can get in there and tweak things if you want, but I'm going to tell you, you can do this well right out of the box with just good old-fashioned Profit Locker, okay? And profit locker is similar to a floating stop. It leaves a lot of wiggle room when you're below the target gain that you specify, but it tightens the closer you get. So like a ratcheting or floating type of a stop loss, okay? It will also chase the stock higher if it goes above your target, and that's where things really get interesting. So use profit locker. Let me show you a little bit better visually what we mean here. So I'm going to go back to the trading system. All right, we're going back the right way. Good. Let's get some green on there, man. All right, let me go to manage. I'm going to go to customize here. This is what profit locker looks like, and this is what we use. We use a 28 target and a 7 stop. This black line represents what happens if we have linear stock price movement all the way to 28%. All it does every tick the market is open is just go inch higher. Every single tick, all the way to 28%. You have to make that kind of assumption to draw a stop loss parabola, okay? And so what you have though then is you can kind of display the integrity of what's trying to be accomplished by the stop loss, realizing this is in a perfect world scenario that never happens, but there's still things that can be learned from it, right? So what we learn is that there's initial hard trail. Then there's a volatility exponent, right? That accommodates new volatility that may enter early into a trade once profitability is achieved. As profitability goes wildly towards your target, then the floating portion kicks in. And notice how it aggressively tightens the closer you get. Then there's a final trail. So there's really 3 main components here: initial trail, final trail, volatility. Okay? And so this is the part that I'm quite fond of. I don't know how many of you guys have run across this, but you know, if you use things like a 5% trailing stop or a 10% trailing stop, a lot of times you get bounced out on what inevitably becomes noise, you know? And so this one tries to give it just that little bit of extra room, and it does matter on more occasions, or enough occasions to where profitability increases. It's been my experience. So that is how that works. And I'm going to stop talking there because I've already probably blown some of you out of the water, but I didn't mean to. I'm trying to explain it as best I can, guys. I'm trying to explain it as best I can to the depth of what I can. You know, to the depth of what I can, because some of you are eating it up. All right, so what I want to know now is, how is this different from the system you've been trading? How's it different? We talked about market direction and what we use. We talked about stock selection and how we get there. I reckon that's probably different. And then we talked about stop losses. How's this different from what you're doing now? I guess the answer could be as easy as everything, you know? Yeah. So, you know, it's okay if it's everything, you know? And so what I reckon is this, guys. What I reckon is this. I reckon you showed up today because maybe your trading plan isn't working as well as you hoped, right? Maybe you just hit a wall. Maybe it was working great and all of a sudden you hit a wall and you're looking for, how can I move the needle right now? You know, how can I get out of the wall, get over the wall, right? And get to the other side of it. Or maybe you just want to be trading successfully all the time. And I feel like we've got a system that will help you do that. So today you learned how to keep the wind at your back on your short-term trades. You did learn a stress-free, easy way to evolve with the changing market conditions, and you can actually automate this. I didn't spend a lot of time talking about that because that can come next. You don't have to start out with the automation. You know, it's something that you can work into, but you can link a brokerage. We have 3. We have Ally Invest, Interactive Brokers, and TradeStation integrations, APIs into VectorVest. So if you know, you can set up an account with those guys, or if you already have one, inevitably you can link those accounts to VectorVest, and then all we have to do is take Steve's document that he will give you and plug in all the things that we need in terms of when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell, okay? What search, what stop loss, how many positions we're gonna trade, what we're gonna do when we sell something. Are we gonna repurchase the same stock or don't do it? You know, how many stocks per industry? All those kinds of things are laid out, and it then becomes automated. And can trade right to your brokerage through a product we call RoboTrader, okay? There's also the ability to put those same inputs into portfolios. All right, and I don't know. Let's see whose this is. I don't know, but you can also put them in here and send alerts to your phone, so you don't have to take that step. You could still just trade through TD Ameritrade or whoever you might have. You would just get the alert on your phone. It would tell you what to do. You would go to your brokerage to make the executions. Okay. All right, so let me go back to this and let's finish it up. The big lesson: you can follow a system that will adapt and make money no matter what the market throws at you. There's no such thing as I can't. I've learned over the course of my years that anything that I wanted to do, I was able to do. When anybody anywhere tells me they can't do something, I said, well, you're wrong. You can. You just have to put your mind to it, and you can do anything you want to do. It's unbelievable what you can do. I was the little kid in speech class in college that almost passed out on the way up to the front of the room to make his first presentation. I didn't think I was going to make it up there, guys. And that's all I do now. That's all I've done in my entire working career. I did sports marketing for the PGA Tour, and now here I am here. So, it's anything you want to do, you can do it. You just got to want it. You just got to want to do it. Okay? We designed this trading system. I wish I could get that message out to just everybody in the United States, But anyway, we designed this trading system for people who want a stress-free solution. We designed it for people just like yourself that's tuning in here today. You can adapt and thrive no matter what the market throws at you. This is the living proof. This is a live trading account. It's not a back test. It's not some situation where we went back and made stuff look pretty. This is trade by trade to the broker, live in real time every single day. Okay? It's not a back test. It's real. It does exist. It has happened. All right, so we got a deal for you. 30 days, you can try it out. $29, less than $1 a day. If you don't do this deal, you're telling me that my system that's up more than 50% this year with very little work, how many charts would you have to go through, right? How much work would you have to do to follow it? Not very much. That's not worth $1 a day to you to check it out. I don't care if you come in with the mindset of, I'm going to pay 29 bucks. You know what? I smoke cigars that are more than 29 bucks. I'm going to pay the 29 bucks and watch this guy fail. Bring it on, man. This is what I do for a living, So if that's you, cool. We'll take you, because we know that if you get in there for 30 days, you're going to continue. Plain and simple. And for others of you that already knew before I even said all that crazy stuff, get it done. Get her done. Another good comedian. Get her done. I put the link out into the chat. All you got to do is click on that link right there. It'll take you right to the place where you can get her done. Okay? Take you right out here to VectorVest store. 29 bucks. It does go to $228 a month or $2,090 a year. I can't tell you how many emails I get. This is, best I can tell you. I can't tell you how many emails I get telling me, Steve, I'm so glad I did it. I paid for the annual before my first 30 days was done. I got people that tell me they pay for their, they pay for their annual in a day. Okay? So that's what we hope it does for you. Why? Because then you're with us and you stay with us, right? And if we can help you grow your portfolio 9 out of every 12 months of every year from this point going forward. Listen to what I just said. If we can help grow your portfolio 9 out of 12, maybe on average, months a year, every single year from this day today forward, is that worth $29 to check it out? I hope the answer is yes, because if it's no, I just can't help you. So www.vectorvest.com/thrive is the place to be, and get in there now, man. It's a ball. We had today was kind of a lackluster day, but we've had some good trades, lots of good things going on in there, and we want you to be a part of it. Okay. All right, cool. Let's see. Not slides, but I do have the PDF. Thank you for sticking around. So this document will have, when we were in the product and looking at the Derby, this is a printout of the Derby searches, okay? And this is of the 5-day slide. So lots of great candidates to find some good stocks right now from that list. I would just avoid the bottom fishers, like we said. We said it in the webcast. Okay, hottest growth stocks is the right pick right now. All right, so you get that just for coming. I mean, what a bone! I told you what the best search is right now. So you're welcome. I just told you. Now that answer changes next week. It might be a different one. Okay, but I told you what it was today. So if I was going to use anything today, that would be the one. All right, guys. So any final questions here? Let me see. Does this work for traders that have full-time jobs? Yes, because you can do it. You can make the decisions after the market's closed. And we have a mobile app. So if you wanted to go trade by trade during the day, you could do it either way. You could be a little bit late. Sometimes it helps, Sometimes those stocks hit a trigger and kind of bounce a little bit. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it hurts. But it doesn't always hurt. Anybody that says things like that just doesn't know what they're talking about, So I think it might be worth a shot, I think it might be worth a shot. Most of the people in the Jockey Club are in front of their computers, but you don't have to be. You don't have to be. All right, cool. What else do we got? Practically speaking, how much capital should one have to warrant this type of system? Well, with the advent of zero commission, that number has changed wildly. Few $1,000s. The more the better. The more the better. We started that portfolio that you saw, on 20K, on 20,000. But the more the better, and there's no such thing as too much, there may be too little, but you got to be way down there. Okay, the $29 would be an issue if it was too little. Put it that way. All right, let's see. So is day trading possible, profitable using the system? Is day trading? So the day trading component would have been like, you remember how we found Eastman Kodak? So then we could come in, we would have found it early in the day as it started breaking, okay? Yeah, it could be. So, it only went from 8 to 14. Now, you don't know that these market halts are coming, and they do that because of how much it's moving. There's not anything fraudulent or anything like that going on. It's just there's triggers where that's a requirement by law, to flatten out the trades for a period of time, right? And it's all a matter of what data you look at. But yeah, this would have been a pretty easy one today. Now you wouldn't have caught it with the Derby until about afternoon, after 12 o'clock is probably when it would have started showing up towards the top of the Derby. Because at that point, it's already moving a good percentage, a really good percentage. All right, cool. So anyway, and then you just put on your stochastics or 5-minute bar, whatever you like to use, and go with it. 3 and 8 moving exponential moving averages, 1 and 20, whatever you like. So yeah, it's useful for everybody, and we do that. Now, final thing, we do provide the coaching. So I've got documentation. I'll show you that here really quick for those that are still here. I know you're interested, so I'm going to show it to you. I've got documentation that's literally click by click on how to do all the things that I showed you how to do in this webcast. Okay, so if I go to my Derby, and I go to this, we put this in the room again today because some people were asking for it. So we generally start putting this out after a webcast like this into the GoToWebinar training room. I'm not going to send this document to everybody that's at this webcast, but if you get into the if you do that offer, then you become a member of what's called the Jockey Club. We meet every day from 30 minutes before the bell, so 9 a.m. Eastern, to 10:30 Eastern. Okay, so an hour and a half every morning. We go through the system. We make sure you have the rules. We talk about how it's doing, what stocks are in there, all that kind of stuff. And we also do some day trading and some actual swing trading on the side. So on top of this, okay? And so as a quick example of that, and then we'll come back to the document. Sorry for the free-flowing thoughts here, but we're, here's cherry pick one. This one's up 15%, okay? All right, so we do a whole bunch of really cool stuff. So this guide, it's got your 3 sections: overview, implementation, and then how to monitor the system. Overview is a nice recap of what you learned here, okay? When to buy, we use primary wave. What to buy, Derby Performer, and here's our stop loss. And then here's literally how to do it. So step 1A1, click on the Derby tab. Step 1A2, change the analysis mode to vary the start date. Step 1A3, use the date range calendar and select the oldest start date possible. Should be 3 months ago, okay? Step 1A4, I wrote this by hand for you guys so that you can do it without me, which is so awesome, right? And it goes all the way up to some final tips on monitoring, okay? How to monitor the trading system, look at the equity curves, make sure you're still happy with your results, do all those kinds of things. All right, so that's that, guys. I mean, there's nothing more I can offer here. I have given you the full spiel. No question should have gone unanswered with all of those things that we laid out there. It is literally $29. Doesn't matter if you're already a subscriber, if you're not a subscriber, $29 for 30 days. All you got to do is go to this website here, www.vectorvest.com/thrive, and welcome to the family. There are 3 main instructors, and occasionally we have a 4th, an alternate. Jerry D'Ambrosio is the alternate, but you got Glenn Tompkins, Patrick France, and myself. Glenn Tompkins, Patrick France, and myself. Me and Glenn are in there most of the time. Patrick's in there a decent amount. Jerry when we absolutely need him. That's, we got to allocate resources here. So that's kind of how it works. But you'll get a heavy dose of me and a heavy dose of Glenn. Okay. So act now. This offer is in this case not valid through Sunday because we typically do this webcast on a Friday, but it'll be good for a couple of days. But I would still encourage you to do it now. Okay. So we talked about the Jockey Club. This is the trading room. It's live every single day. You'll get an invite by email. Once you do the offer, you'll start to see those emails begin to come across within the next 24 hours. And it'll invite you, give you a link to where you get to the actual club. There are many hundreds of people in the club now, and we have thousands of people, but many hundreds show up every single day. I don't like to give out exact numbers, but we are in a position where we might have to make a change in webinar provider because our growth is putting us in that position. And so for some of you, that might give you a clue. There's a lot of people, okay, that are doing this right now, and it's really growing like wildfire. So if you're interested, it's growing like that for a reason. Thanks for coming today. I'll stick around, maybe answer 3 more questions, and then we'll go on our way. I'll make sure that you got that link in the chat. Remember, if you click that link right in the chat, it will take you right to this page here. You're welcome, Jason. Member and non-member, same fee. Yes, Joseph, same fee. Cool. A bunch of people are saying they're in. That's awesome. I love that. YouTubers, I'm going to go ahead and kind of cut you guys because I can't see any of your questions anyways. But thanks for coming today. I really appreciate it. Okay? Have a good day.